welcome to the craft room. I'm really glad you're here. Today I'm going to finish working on this foundation paper piecing block. Previous video is love it or hate it. I walked through pretty much 2 pieces of this block, and then these 2 pieces go together and then make our rolling star here. So I had talked about tearing out the paper on the back, but I haven't done it because you don't tear the paper until you're finished with the whole block. So I figured let's put the rest of this block together and then we can rip the paper, and you can see how easy it is to get it out of here. So I talked about the paper brand that I use, which is this one. And it's like a dryer sheet, so it's pretty thin and it's pretty pliable, but when it does come to tearing, I'll just show you just a hair here. It rips out super easy. So let's put this together. I'll walk you through that and then we'll have the finished block. Okay, so this one is a corner, and I hope you can see. Okay, that's too high, but I think we're gonna have to, you're just gonna have to trust me that I've got it all together down here. I'm trying hard to get it in the camera, but it's not quite working out. Okay, so I did do the same blue fabric all throughout the star, and then the same teal fabric right here, and then the yellows are all different and the backing is all different. So just to give it a little bit of variation and a little bit of like a scrappy look, which I like a lot. Okay, so so you can see that. So here's just kind of like a dry fit, right? Okay, so we're gonna take one middle and one corner, and on each side we have the seam allowance right here and this solid line. Okay, so that is what we're going to use to put these pieces together. So we're going to line the solid line of this and the solid line on the back of that one. We're going to line them together so that they meet well. And if you cut the funny tips of these pieces, those will line up. So that's a good guide for you to get your pieces where they need to be. And just like on everywhere else, we're not going to sew all the way to the tip. We stop right there so that we again still have that seam allowance there in the middle of the star. Okay, so let's get this together and then I'll show you, and hopefully that'll make a little bit more sense. Okay, let's sew this together. And we're going right on that line. And just as we did everything else, we'll start, then we'll back stitch, and then we'll go the whole way, then we'll end, back stitch. Okay, and that just keeps everything super secure. Okay, I'm gonna grab my scissors. Okay, so there is our stitch here. We ended there, but there's our back stitch, and we ended here, and there's our back stitch. So that one is sewed together, and now it opens up into a corner there. So we get all of our lines all matched up really perfectly. And I will say it is pretty bulky through here where you have multiple seams, but it shouldn't be too much for your machine. So, okay, so now we're just gonna repeat. So at this point I iron, and it is hard to iron because there is so much in there. And our pieces, truthfully, with the paper in there, will not lay down as flat as we want them, but as soon as we rip it out, everything lays so smoothly. So it's just, this is a trust the process kind of moment. So I'm just going to hand press for right now and get that seam down, and then we're just going to move on to the next one. So I'm going to do that 1, 2, 3 more times, and then we put it all together, and then we'll tear it all apart. seems like the worst ending to a quilt block. Let's put it together, then rip it apart. But we're just ripping the paper, not the block. Okay, so let me finish these 3 and then I'll check back in with you, okay? Okay, so we've got all of these pieces sewn together now. Like I said, they're sitting kind of funny because of that paper underneath. So now we're gonna do the halves. So put the halves together and then put the whole thing together. So let's do that and I'll be back. Okay, so real fast since I'm looking at it. So just with the way that I happen to press my seams, they're on top of where I want to sew. Do you see that? Just a hair on top of that. So I'm just gonna, because I just hand pressed this seam, I'm just gonna flip it to the other side so that I can sew this line. So if your seams happen to go the wrong way, which happens, right? Just flip them over to the other side. At this point, our seams aren't that important because the paper's under there and it's gonna make them wonky anyways. So no sweat, just move the other seams out of the way and stitch these together. Okay, 2 halves. Last seam. And so there is going to be a huge amount of bulk right here in the middle. And so I've tried it where I've literally sewn a continuous stitch all the way down. And it is hard to get this middle to lay down. So it is worth it to sew this piece and stop, then start again here and then sew that edge. And I do feel like at sometimes it is counterintuitive because you're not completely sewing this block together, because then that just leaves the middle open. But with that middle open, it allows the fabric to go where it needs to go to lay down. So trust the process. Okay, let's get these last 2 stitches in and we'll iron it open. Okay, there we go. Oh my gosh, that turned out so cute. Yeah, I like that a lot. That turned out really pretty. I'm a big fan. Well, I will say, when I was putting them together, I was definitely mixing my pattern backgrounds. And then when I was showing you the different pieces, I mixed up my stack. I can tell because this has no pattern and no pattern and pattern. But it really doesn't matter. It's scrappy, right? That's just something I noticed right off the bat in there. So that one's really cute. Now let's get to the fun part, the satisfying part, and we're gonna peel all this paper out. And then after we do that, then we can sit there and iron these seams open and help get rid of most of this bulk in here. Because I mean, you can see that this wants to take a different shape because it's so bulky. So let's start tearing. And there is no gentle way about it. You just rip. And so I do keep my seam ripper handy and I'll use it backwards. So if there's our tip, you know, where usually you kind of come at it like this, I'm going to hold it upside down and I use that in the corners and the tight corners, if that makes sense. Because sometimes my big fingers do not want to fit in those little spaces. And that helps me get each of these pieces out. So it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, but obviously the more you get out of it, the less bulk you get out of it. So this is actually a job that my kids like doing. So usually I'll finish a block and then I'll let them rip it out. Let me show you the rest of this one. Not very exciting. I will say it doesn't tear very good at this angle because I'm trying to show you at the same time, but sometimes those seam, long skinny ones don't like to come out the way I'd like them to, but that one actually did pretty good. So if you've got some aggression you're working through, this is a great activity. Good little destructive activity that doesn't hurt anyone or anything. Okay. So, and because of those double seams that we did, this is why we did the back stitch, because that paper could very well pull out our end seams. But because we did the back stitch, it's really secure in there. So you don't have to be too gentle about it. Come on, little guy. And if it really just won't come out, you can just wet it, and then it'll make it really soft and it'll come out really easily. So, okay, there's one. And so, I mean, just like feel wise, you can just see that this is much softer and a lot less bulky. So we'll keep working on all of these and then we'll iron it open. So let's use some editing magic and let's get this done like right now. It got messy in here real fast, didn't it? But now we'll kind of see. Most of the paper is out. Yeah, there's still little bits in there. They'll be okay. And so now that we've got everything torn out, let's iron. Sorry, I can't leave this here because it's going to be stuck to me forever. Okay, now I mean it. Let's go iron. Okay, there we go. It's all ironed out flat and it looks really good. So I'll just kind of show you on the back. I ironed all my seams open and I took it all the way to the blue. So yeah, there is still bulk there, but you have how many points meeting up in that same spot. But as I opened the seam and I went to the neighbor, it almost pushed those tips so that they like overlapped each other all the way around. So yes, you will have bulk in the middle, but going that way gets them to lay nice and even so that right here in the middle of our star, there's no huge bulge or lump or anything like that. We've gotten everything to kind of lay down. So just a little tip in ironing. It does make a difference if you take the time. So, okay, well, there we go. There's that one. So until next time, we'll see ya. Bye.